This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
The B.S. Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. The B.S. Report. The B.S. Report with Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the B.S. Report. We're taping this on a Friday, 9 days before the Super Bowl. I think it's running Monday. Our friend Al Michaels, a B.S. Report Hall of Famer, wearing his Kings hat.
Yep.
2 cups in 3 years. I don't think there's going to be a third cup in 4 years.
I'm worried about
that's happening.
No, you and I both know. I think part of the problem is, injuries, every team has them. Maybe they're a little bit bored with the regular season. Who can blame them? They're waiting for April. But, the fact that they played 20 games 3 years ago and then played 26 games last year, and then in the intervening year, I think they played something like 18 games.
Yeah, it was like 18.
So the three postseasons now, you add up all of the games, that's another season. So the Kings, in essence, over the last 3 seasons have played 4.
It's impossible to – well, it's not impossible, but it's very hard to go back-to-back in hockey. And I think in football, too. Like, I think if the Seattle does it in the cap era, I would really be impressed by that. And they're 1 game away. But just the way football works, you win a Super Bowl, guys get paid, assistants leave. Yeah. And there's just a degree of difficulty. I think they have 19 guys in the IR or 20.
Well, you think of it this way too. At least when I was growing up, a dynasty was you'd win 7 championships in 8 years, or the Yankees would win 4 in a row, or
5 in a decade.
Or the Cardinals would win 3 in a row, or whatever. That was a dynasty. Now a dynasty is you win 1.5.
Right.
2 is definitely a dynasty. 3 is a team for the ages.
I battled about this in my column. I like the right word for it. That's not dynasty. It's almost like regime.
It
the
could be.
Belichick-Brady regime.
Regime. That is a regime.
It's literally a regime.
Sure.
It's like a presidential regime
it is.
with like weird stuff going on. And...
Right. Only the family can be in power.
What'd you think of that? I know you've been talking about that. You're still promoting your book, by the way. You wrote a book called "You Can't Make This Up." We'll talk about that later.
Hey, listen. This is not a brag.
Yeah.
Or a false modesty, but to see your book on the New York Times bestseller list. Now, you've seen it.
It's great. It's a great feeling.
You did a book, and yours was #1 for a while, right? When my book wound up on the New York Times bestseller list, I went, what?
It's great.
Who did that? And
Plus, I can't believe people bought it after they've already heard 90% of the stories on the B.S. Report.
Of course they have.
You've told all the stories already.
Every story in there.
But they needed to be in a book.
You know what that says? Not enough people are listening to the B.S. Report.
I know.
Because they're out there buying the book.
I felt
now.
inadequate.
I know. So come on, let's get the ratings up.
It's nice to have a book. Like, it's just nice. It's nice. Like, I see the books I've written, or like we have the Grantland quarterlies that we do, and it's just nice to see them in the bookshelf and be like, oh, yeah. There it is.
The greatest for me, not for you yet, but you've got kids.
Yeah.
I've got grandkids. And the reason I actually did the book is I started, collecting grandkids, and I'd see these toddlers.
Like literally collecting them? Like bottles?
I collected 4 of them, thanks to Stephen and Jenny, my son and my daughter, and they each had 2 and all. And I just started looking at them going, I'm done sooner than later, and they're not going to remember too much. So let me get something down that they can open up one day and say, hey, that's what Pop did.
You had a great game, Ravens-Pats.
I did, yep.
Which you just keep stumbling into great games.
We do.
That was a great one.
You loved it, right? You were tweeting like crazy.
We're going to talk about that, yeah.
Of course. We'll talk about
people
everything.
are like, you tweeted about it. I was like, listen, look, I felt like Al kind of maybe had a gun to his head at one point in the second quarter, but you said that wasn't the case.
You know what? I'll tell you what happened that night.
Please tell us.
Here you go. Here comes the whole story. So the game is Saturday at 4:30 in New England. So the Mueller report comes out at about noon, 1 o'clock Eastern
strategically
time.
timed on Thursday. Right when nobody cares.
Thursday, we didn't know it was coming out. So we're thinking, and here's how the decision was made. We decide, okay, we're the first game that's going to be played in the National Football League post the release of the Mueller report. In the game are the Baltimore Ravens, who are central to the Mueller report. Coming to the game is the commissioner, Roger Goodell. So let me ask you this question. If we had ignored this, I think...
You couldn't have ignored it.
No, we couldn't have. I think we would have opened ourselves up to even more criticism. Now, I don't know if you watched the pregame show, but Bob Costas, in the middle of the pregame show, dealt with the essence of the report.
I didn't see it because I was throwing up because I throw up for every Patriot game. Like
Well,
Bill
there you
Russell
go.
used
So
to
you're
do
in the
back
bathroom,
day.
but Bob actually talked about basically the same thing that I did. So this wasn't a case of somebody saying you have to do it. This was a collaboration of our key production people basically saying we have to address this, mainly because Roger was going to be there that night, and we had to take a shot of
So
Roger
the NFL
Goodell.
didn't say to you guys, you guys have to,
No.
Roger's there,
No.
show him and talk about this.
No. They basically, look, when Goodell's at a game, he's almost always shown whatever game he's attending, especially under these circumstances. So this was a case where I really felt, and again, I had 30 seconds or less to jam in some facts.
Right.
And that's basically all I did at that point. So, hey, the Mueller report came out. Here's the essence of it. And I know one of the things, look, if people have this tremendous animus toward Roger Goodell, they don't want to believe the report. They think he's a liar, and they think Mueller's a liar for saying that Roger wasn't a liar. So we weren't going to go there, but I at least had to say, hey, here he is. The report came out. Here's what it said. Look, they didn't absolve the league, but Mueller did say that Goodell did not lie about seeing the tape. Now, Chris came in on the back end and said something about, he believes he's an honorable man.
Right.
I know he took some heat for it, but that was the essence of it. One of the hardest things for us, Bill, in the play-by-play and analyst role where the game is going on, we don't have 3-4 minutes. We don't have a column to sit there and examine every aspect of it. We got to get in and got to get out. And that's what happened that night.
I mean, just watching it live, it felt like you were rushing through it.
Yeah. Well, I was rushing through it basically because the play was going to start.
The football game is about to start.
The football game is about to start. Believe me, it's the toughest thing in being in the play-by-play role. I have a lot of things I'd love to say. I'm not avoiding certain things, but shoot, between second and 6 and third and 4, I don't have a lot of time.
And you have to remember 170 numbers.
Apart from
How
that,
many numbers?
That's the easy part. It's funny.
Yeah, but you're like a freak, though, with that. I don't understand. You the best play-by-play guys, you just can sink in all these numbers and then just forget them immediately after the game.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and you have to. But it's funny. In football, you have to identify the guy by the numbers. You have 22 guys going 114 different directions. In all the years I did baseball, I couldn't tell you what the numbers were of the guys playing on my team.
Right.
You would just recognize them. You have a pitcher and a batter, and they're all separated. So that's easy. Football's a different deal. But then again, remember, the linemen look a little different than the receivers do or the running back, or certainly, the quarterback. So it's not as hard as it seems in terms of trying to memorize everything.
But you still
I'm sorry,
hate,
your name again?
You still hate Julius Thomas and Demaryius Thomas for doing the 80-88, having almost the exact same body thing. Because I was confused by that 90 times this season.
I'm not crazy about that, but the worst thing of all, and I guess it's the same situation in this year's Pro Bowl. I did the Pro Bowl last year, where some marketing yuppies tell the league, hey, look, let's go get these crazy uniforms. And you couldn't see anything last year. Zero. I did the game in Hawaii, and, I'm
So you had to do the Johnny Most when Johnny Most with the Celtics played the Russians.
What
Like, over the guy, over the tall guy, over the short guy.
I love it.
Over the darker guy.
It.
So what would you do differently if you had to do that Goodell thing again?
The Goodell thing again? I'm not sure I could do anything differently. I mean, if you have 20 to 30 seconds to get out the essence of the report, I don't know. Look, I know we took a lot of grief for it. I understand that. But these days, no matter
people
what you
love
say,
you like America's grandfather.
Thank you very much. I'm more like America's father.
Well, America's father. You're America's father.
What's between father and grandfather, right? America's youngest grandfather, right? Look.
My disappointment just watching it was that I felt like the NFL was spinning a certain version of what the Mueller report said.
Get it right, by the way, Mueller.
Okay,
right.
Mueller. Have we ever decided it's definitely Mueller?
It's definitely Mueller. Mm-hmm.
So
ran the FBI. I remember that very well.
When they did the Mueller report, initially when they assigned me to do it, it was basically to find out what the hell happened with this whole thing.
Right.
And then when it came out, it was like, so the Mueller report came out and it proved that Roger didn't see the video. And it's like, well, I have a whole bunch of other questions I'd like to find out answers for. And one of them was he sent a memo to all the owners on, I think, September 10th saying, we've tried to get all the tapes from law enforcement. And then in the Mueller report, buried in there, it's like, no, actually, he didn't. He didn't ask for any of the tapes. So that was the stuff that I felt like I kind of swept under the rug.
But, when you have 30 seconds,
right?
I mean, you need a whole show to bring everything to the fore. And that's one thing. For instance, ESPN, they can have 18 guys go back and forth for 2 hours, right? And you have it because you've got 19 million channels. But when you're doing 30 seconds, there's not a heck of a lot of space in there for you.
What was interesting about the reaction, though, was it was like people were just convinced, myself included, that you guys were being made to do something.
I know they were.
Which I was like, wow, we've really reached a strange point in the NFL that...
Yeah. So somebody said they felt that I was reading a hostage video. Yeah. Now, from time to time, we do have to read certain things. For instance... in Philadelphia about 3 years ago, there was this big push to make Lincoln Financial Field the greenest stadium in America. Okay? And we're going to do this, and we've got windmills and whatever, and we're going to use 65% less energy. And I was kind of put into a position where we had to do a thing, and I narrated like a piece of tape for 40 seconds. And it's one of those things where I'm never comfortable doing that because it sounds like it's written, which it is, and hey, whatever they're doing, great. Who cares? They want to be environmentally sound. That's great. But there was a way for me to get out of that, and what I did at the end of that is I said to Collinsworth, I said, Chris, you would think there's enough hot air coming out of this booth that we could power the whole stadium, right? So you make a joke of it at the end. But with something like this, it was difficult, very difficult to make a joke of it at the end of it.
Well, it turned out to be the second most exciting non-Super Bowl Pats game of the Brady-Belichick era.
Right, 214.
I would say one of the best football games you've ever done.
Well,
right? It's going to be in the short list.
Well, when you
not counting Super Bowls.
Well, it's on the list of great games because how often would you see a 14-0 lead erased and then the Patriots tie it only to now fall behind 28-14? To have them come back and tie it. And then the only time they have the lead is at the end of the game. And then you've got, of course, the Vereen ineligible play, which, by the way, I thought my production crew did a phenomenal job on. And I'll tell you how that happened. Because when teams are lining up these days, first of all, I look down the line. I don't know who's on the line anymore.
Right.
The flanker is here, and the splinter is here, and then they reverse, and then, wow. And then the linemen are fanned out. They had a point of emphasis a few years ago where they wanted the tackles up on the line. Now they're back fanned out again. You look down the line, you don't know who's who. So I'm thinking if you're the defense, you really don't know who's who. Now all of a sudden you got Vereen coming into the game, who's normally going to be a receiver, and he's going to be in the slot, but he's ineligible. In effect, he's going to be the tackle. So you can't spot this the minute it happens. And they're always having guys come in and report as eligible, like Solder did the other day when he caught the touchdown pass. So we saw when Harbaugh was so mad. That was a very interesting penalty that he took too. But that was a harmful penalty in light of when it was taken. I mean, for John to take that penalty. So right in the second it happened in the truck, Fred Godelli starts looking with the tape operators. What was he so crazed about? And we were able to find it. You could see Vinovich say to whomever, "Hey, this guy is ineligible." Which is crazy to begin with in the heat of the moment. So our guys were on top of it. We were able to figure out exactly what that was. So
I was amazed.
I was very proud of the boys in the truck. They did a great job that night.
Well, how about Collinsworth,
Tremendous.
who has this supernatural ability to see all 22 people at the same time, which I don't understand.
I don't either. Let me tell you something. He could announce the game, coach the game, and officiate the game.
At the same time?
At the same time, yeah.
But he missed the formation initially.
Well,
for him to miss one, it's like, no wonder the Ravens were confused.
So
Collinsworth missed it.
But think about this. How often will you see Vereen line up as an ineligible tackle?
Right.
And again, you go back to how the slot guy lines up and the outside guy lines up, and they're lined up a half a yard.
I didn't know what was going on either.
In terms of looking down the line. Whoa!
Well, we never throw to that guy, the third string tight end.
Right.
So you knew something like, how is that guy so open?
That
guy hasn't been open all season.
Right.
And he's open by 20 yards. So I knew something happened, but I couldn't figure it out.
Well, you got that play. Then you got the Edelman pass to Amendola, which was crazy.
The loudest Gillette's been, supposedly.
Right. So
Gillette's not very loud.
Who's not? Like Gillette?
Not one of your favorites.
It can get loud.
What's your favorite stadium right now?
My favorite stadium right now would be...
For you, for atmosphere and noise and just getting charged up to be at the game.
Kansas City's pretty crazy. It really is. Lambeau's crazy, too. I mean, Lambeau, we all know about Lambeau, and it's the history and the iconic players, and it's in Green Bay, and it's great. But Kansas City's a college atmosphere.
Yeah.
Everybody dresses in red. You've got the barbecue going out in the parking lot. The way the wind blows. I've always said it's the best smelling stadium in the world because you hear the barbecue.
It smells like kielbasa.
Wafting. It's wonderful. I'll tell you what I love. I love Dallas. Some people think it's over the top.
I like Dallas.
Spectacular.
I'm in. It's like
the best stadium.
Nothing like.
It's the best stadium in the world. It is the best stadium.
You feel like you're in
built.
Japan or somewhere, in what a Japan football stadium in a movie would be like this stadium.
Right. It's phenomenal. I guess. I mean, the only thing I've never sat upstairs. I suppose if you do, it's much easier to watch the game on the well, because it's in front of you. So, but maybe that's not a bad thing because the games are better on television than they are live.
I've heard Cleveland's great, but you probably haven't done a Cleveland game in like 15 years.
It's a good stadium. It's a really good. Seattle's.
Come on, you haven't done a Cleveland game. When was
we
last time you
did a
Cleveland game?
I'll tell you what, we did
at
Cleveland
Cleveland.
Game. Yes, we did a game. It was Pittsburgh at Cleveland.
It was 1988.
Nah, it was 2000. I'll tell you when it was. It was the year that Roethlisberger. We had Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Roethlisberger comes into the meeting the day before the game and tells us he has a separated shoulder. We went, what? So, of course, we opened up, and he hadn't told anybody else.
Yeah.
So now the Pittsburgh press is crazy with us because we revealed it the next night. I was working with John Madden, so it had to be 07, 08. And we come on there and we say, Ben's playing with a separated shoulder. So that was the last time that, Ben was always pretty forthright, and then Ben began to tie it down a little bit after that because I think Tomlin said, you don't want anybody to know you're playing with a separated shoulder, if indeed you are.
But you guys always, and it's not just your team, but I've always noticed the announcing crew in the big games always has like 2 or 3 tidbits that I always feel like if I was on the other team, I would assign somebody to the telecast, and then Collinsworth goes, well, they said they wanted to test this guy all night, and then run back to the thing. Collinsworth just
Teams
said they want to test
do.
29. They must.
You know what? They can probably figure it out, too. I mean, I don't think there are too many secrets. Even if we're told something, I don't think the other team has a hard time figuring it out fairly quickly.
I might have asked you this already, but I don't remember the answer. Who is the single best interview? Who's the one that you're like, oh, we got – like what coach or player where you're like, oh, this guy, this is going to be so much fun?
Well, when we used to bring Brett Favre into the room, I know people would mock John Madden for loving
How much
Favre,
you love Brett Favre
and all of that, but Favre was always interesting. Peyton Manning will always teach you something. I mean, Peyton Manning sees everything. He knows every player in the game upside down, backwards, forwards. It could be, the number 10 defensive back, upside down, backwards, forwards. He is phenomenal in that regard.
What do you think about him as? Oh, go ahead.
But Richard Sherman is fantastic. I love when we have Sherman in the room. He's a smart kid.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people think he's over the top. Everybody thinks about that interview last year with Aaron Andrews after the NFC Championship game. He is smart and sharp and gets it, and is a lot of fun.
There's 2 Richard Shermans, I'm convinced.
Could be.
There's the you mad bro guy who just acts like an ass on the field and is over competitive, and then there's like the guy who's like, he's going to have a huge media career after he retires.
Oh, tremendous.
Peyton would be an amazing color guy, I feel like.
I think he'd be very, very good.
I feel like that's his destiny.
I don't know.
If I were him, that's what I would do. I think Collinsworth has a nice life. If I'm Manning, I look at Collinsworth, I'm like, that would be cool.
Yeah,
Not to take Collinsworth's job.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that would be cool. Do games, get better at it.
Peyton would be a very good businessman, too. He may want to, branch out and go into businesses.
But he's smart enough to know he needs some sort of on-camera exposure to keep his brand running. Magic Johnson was always smart with that. Magic stayed on the TV show because he knew it was good for him.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, with Peyton, it'll be very interesting to see what he does. Sometimes you can take a year off from that role, too, where you step away, you reassess where your life is. I know one thing about Peyton. He was out here about 2 years ago. I guess it was right after his first year with Denver. And we had dinner and with our wives. And he spent the whole dinner asking me about the broadcasting business. How does this happen? How does that happen? How would this work? So he's already, not that he'd already decided that this was what he was going to do, but you know what he wanted to do? He wanted to collect and process all of the information that he could. He wanted to know everything about how it worked.
Yeah, I'm not
so
surprised
that if he
by
did it, yeah, I mean, he was like, he was examining a laboratory rat. He wanted to open it up and see what's going on. And
I remember when he
hosted
SNL, I think he was like that too. He was like, "What are you doing there? Who's that guy?" Like he's just one of those guys. I think he's naturally curious.
He has to look at the underside of things and how does this work? What part is connected to what part? What does this person do? That he'll be very, very good at that. If that's what he decides to do.
I hate when people say I think he should retire because it should be up to the person.
Yeah, me too.
With that said, I don't think he can play 5 straight months anymore. And whether you jigger the schedule so that he misses the first 2 months and then just plays November, December, January, I mean, maybe that's the way his body, it's like Kobe Bryant. These guys, their body, they have a shelf life. It's a car. It's 150,000 miles in the odometer or whatever it is, and that's it.
Well, I think everybody's got a shelf life. We know that. So sooner or later, everybody's done. I think with Peyton, I felt, after watching him in the Indianapolis game, where he looked not at all like Peyton Manning, had a rough time down the stretch. We knew he was hurt. We didn't know what it was. Was it the quad? Whatever it was. And I just felt, without knowing anything specifically, Bill, I just felt that I think what he will probably do is rest, get examined, see how he feels maybe at the end of March or April, if he's healed up from whatever it was that was ailing him during the season, then go out, see how he throws, see how his body feels. Because he was working like crazy. We had him 3 times earlier this year, and his regimen was unbelievable, what he was doing to make sure that, the neck and the back and all the stuff that he had done would be in tip-top shape and in fine working order. And he did have a really good first part of the year.
He did.
I mean, there he was again. I mean, he's throwing 3 touchdown passes a game, so he can still play. So we'll see. I think a lot of it with Peyton will be, and again, this is just me assessing what I think is happening. I'll think he'll want to see where he is physically, let's say in April, and then make the decision then.
I don't know what would drive him at this point other than the titles. And if he feels like he can't get to the level where he could actually win somebody a title, I don't know. He could make the money on the side. The money's not a thing for him, I don't think.
Look, it's the titles, obviously, but you know what it is too, Bill? This is what he does. I mean,
the relevance,
it's like taking, but I mean, for a Brady or for him, and that's why I think Favre had so much trouble deciding, when he would retire. It happens to almost anybody, especially if you're still pretty good at what you do. I mean, if you know you can still do it, it's like telling Van Gogh, "I'm taking your brushes away." And Van Gogh says, "Hey, wait a second, I can still paint. I'm still pretty good. Maybe I'm not painting, $10 million portraits. Maybe I'm still doing like $8 million portraits, but don't take my brushes away." And I think a lot of these guys now realize that, in their mid to late 30s, this is about as exciting a thing as you can do. They're playing professional football at the highest level. And this, of course, would cross over to any sport. I mean, any guy who's playing at the top level in any sport, how are you going to recreate that thrill? Now, you can do a lot of different things in your life. Broadcasting, whatever. You can become a billionaire hedge fund guy. Who knows? But I don't think you can compete with the thrill you get playing professional sports. And then on top of that, winning the big games.
Well, think about how many boxers came back for 5 more fights than they should have for that reason.
Yeah, well, a lot of them came back for money. Yeah, a lot of those guys, they needed the dough.
Nobody gets ruined more than boxers with what their paycheck was versus what they actually got out of the paycheck. You must think about this stuff though. Sometimes you got 4 grandkids, you're still at the top of your game, but you must think like, do you ever think about this sign will be a sign that maybe I should start thinking about the end game? Like, I missed this. I forgot this. Is that in the back of your head ever?
Well, 2 things in the back of my head. One is health, which is out of my hands, basically.
But you're traveling every single weekend for 20 weeks.
Unfortunately, look, I wake up some mornings and I feel like I'm like 22 years old. And there's a chapter in my book called The Rascal, where I've got that rascal's always been in me. I'm still the rascal.
Yeah.
So that's still there. I think if there's a telltale sign, it would be I can't do the game the way I want to do the game.
So what does that mean?
It means I go to the game and it's like it's not coming to me as fast as it used to.
Right.
or I'm missing stuff, and I'll walk away and go, oh man, how did I miss that? How did I miss this? That never used to happen.
But you're not even close to that yet.
I hope not.
I haven't noticed anything.
Well,
I'm watching.
I hope not. I mean, when I go to the game, and I've got those 3 hours, and I know how to get to those 3 hours. I'm prepared, and work with a fantastic crew. Chris and Michelle, and the truck is unbelievable. I've got my support system is phenomenal. So I'm locked into the game. But if I can't, there will come a day where it just doesn't come as quickly.
Well, you're smart, though. You aligned yourself with good partners the last few years, too.
Oh, my God.
You went from Madden to Collinsworth.
13 years with Madden and Collinsworth.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's great.
It's better than great. It's better. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that when you think about it.
This is an awkward thing to say because you can just nod, but there's a whole code of honor with broadcasters. But Collinsworth's way better than any other color guy. So you don't have to say anything. I'm just going to say it, and you don't have to say anything. But the things that he notices during a game are unparalleled. Nobody is on the level of him. Like the play just happened. He's like, watch! Oh my God, the left guard! Watch this left guard on this. But yet the next play would be like, oh, the free safety. He took such a bad angle on, and I'm like, how the hell did he see that?
It's magic.
Yeah.
Look, I'm amazed. I'm sitting next to him. I'm amazed. I'm going, wait a minute. How the hell did he see that? And then he was able to foretell a game-ending sack in the San Diego New Orleans game about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
He could tell. He goes, if they don't get Gaither some help.
That's what it was,
left
Jumpy
tackle
Gaithers.
for San Diego, this game is going to end on a sack. Bang! How'd the game end? On a sack. Now, that's why I think, as I said, he could broadcast the game. He could coach the game. And he can officiate the game. He knows the rules inside out.
It's interesting. Nobody in basketball can do that because where they put you on the court, it's impossible to see the court well enough. Because I've actually done games from that seat.
Yeah.
It's great. You can hear stuff. You're right next to the people. But you don't actually have a feel for the game. And the monitors are small. And it would be really hard to just pick stuff out and be like, I saw what happened and this guy missed that pick. And so it takes a while almost to adjust. And it's a bad angle and you're always turning one way or the other. I think it would almost be better to broadcast an NBA game from like 15 rows high midcourt.
Yes and no. I mean, when I did the NBA, I always thought about that. Would it be better to have...
So what were the advantages from being close?
Well, you kind of feel what's going on, and you can hear a lot of stuff.
Right.
That's big. And look, there's some stuff you couldn't see. The problem I had, and it took me a year and a half to figure this out, is that if you're looking at it live with all of the bodies in front of you, and it's obscured and there's action underneath the basket, on television, you can see what's happening.
So you would look down at the monitor?
Yeah, so now I had to figure out how to do that. It took me a while to, because I wanted to see it live. Because it's a very interesting dynamic in basketball because you can see a lot of stuff live that you can't see on TV, but there's a ton of stuff you can see on TV that you can't see live. And to me, one of the things that an announcer has to do is relate to what the fan is seeing on the monitor. So if I do a football game, for instance, I have the monitor directly in front of me, but I can look over the top of the monitor at the field. And I want to see with the naked eye, when a team breaks the huddle, which you might not see on television, who's going where. But I never want to really have my eyes away from the monitor itself. At least I can look down. Because if I see like a shot change, I look immediately to the monitor, knowing that the people at home are seeing something else.
So
and I've got to be aware of that.
You're standing and you're...
Or standing, or you just sit. I can be on a stool and just kind of like, the way I position myself is just, I can look over the top of the monitor. So, I mean, I don't have to move my head at all. My eyes can just drop, see the monitor, or lift up and see the field. So and that's how I set it up. So I try not to miss too much.
And baseball's the easiest.
Baseball's easy, yeah. Well, sure,
because it's so freaking slow,
right? Well, because there's the action only takes place every 20 seconds or so.
And hockey, I would think, would be. It's
Hockey's
almost
tough.
like you just have to have a rhythm. It's like a different form of it's almost like you're playing music or something.
Well,
Emmerich just does he just talks like he just
right.
Never stops.
Hockey's so tough. I think radio hockey is the toughest of all. Because,
really?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because number one, in hockey, there's so little scoring. I mean, the final score might be 2-1. In basketball, the final score is 110 to 106. So in basketball, and also a team has possession in basketball. And if they lose possession, then the other team has possession. The ball doesn't go back and forth like each team has possession for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
In hockey, that happens. A team's
poked away,
team's
back
trying to
to
get out of the puck. Who's got it? In what zone? So, in hockey is a very hard game for you to see in your mind's eye if you're listening on radio, because the puck is going back and forth so much, and it's at center ice, and then it's dumped in along the boards, and who has it? Basketball, you can figure it out in your mind. So and so is 25 feet out. He has it on the baseline. Hockey's different. So the guys who do hockey on radio, it's tremendous. Hockey on television is very much like hockey on radio, because you're almost doing as much as you do on radio. I guess that's the way it almost has to work, because nobody has the puck for more than 4 seconds or 5 seconds, unless Drew Doughty's going the length of the ice. But that doesn't happen very often. I mean, the puck is always off one stick and onto somebody else's stick.
Have you done soccer?
I have not. It's so funny.
So what's left on your bucket list? Soccer, professional wrestling?
So I get asked by people now, well, you've done the NBA, the finals, and World Series, Super Bowls, Olympics, et cetera, et cetera. So what's left? Kentucky Derby, motorcycles on ice.
Oh, yeah, you told me the Kentucky Derby was on your list.
Kentucky. I've done the Indy 500. I've done the Derby. I've done all of these.
Oh, you've done the Derby.
I've done them. Yeah.
What was the one you hadn't done that was on your list?
There was nothing.
There was one big one.
Maybe years ago. No, but I mean, somebody said. But recently, people have said to me, "What about soccer? The World Cup's become so big. Wouldn't you want to do the World Cup?" And that would kind of complete the whole, resume. And I said, let me put it to you this way. I've never been to a soccer game in my life. So can you imagine me breaking in on the World Cup?
Yeah.
How do you think that would sound?
If you do an MLS game in February.
Yeah, I would end my career by doing a soccer game.
And pro wrestling,
get that bum out of there.
Pro wrestling you could do.
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Ask McMahon. You could do like the Intercontinental title match or something.
When Gorgeous George comes back, I'll be there.
Hey, we should mention you're doing NBC Boxing.
I'm hosting it. Yeah, it came out originally.
Oh, you're just you're not play-by-play?
Yeah, they'll announce a blow-by-blow announcer, but Sugar Ray Leonard is going to be a part of it. NBC.
Why wouldn't you do play-by-play? I don't understand.
I haven't done it.
My feelings are hurt.
We're going to get a guy who's going to.
How about the guy should be named Al Michaels?
No, we're going to have a really good blow-by-blow announcer who's going
No,
to.
you just want to rest on Hagler Hearns and the laurels of Hagler Hearns.
There you go. Well, why not?
You can't top it.
Why not? I can't top it. That's exactly right.
Like, I'm out.
Which is why I haven't done very much hockey since 1980.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's it. So it's kind of a one and done thing. No, I had done a ton of boxing.
I remember
after Cosell had stepped away from it, and then I stepped away from boxing because I was doing football and baseball and.
I thought Alex Wallow's ego was just too big. That wasn't it.
Alex Wallow was Alex Wallow, who you know is my dearest friend, and you've known Alex for a million years.
You could have gone with that.
Alex was the best boxing analyst who ever lived. Ever.
Yeah.
When you talk about Chris Collinsworth, Alex Wallow was the Chris Collinsworth of boxing analysts.
He was so good.
He saw everything.
Nobody knew who he was, and
right.
Everyone agreed he was the best. Nobody knew how he got there. It was like, where'd they get this guy?
Bill, at one point, don't forget what his business card read. Alex Wallow, boxing analyst / president, ABC Television Network. Think about that.
That should almost be a 30 for 30 short.
Yeah, of course. But there you go.
A network executive who's also the lead boxing guy at the network.
All right. If it's not worth a 30 for 30, make it a 15 for 15. We'll do a half a show out of this.
I got to ask you about you're doing the Super Bowl.
Right. I hope.
This is going.
Well, I got to.
It might just be a forfeit.
I've got to get to Phoenix. Then I'll do. Yeah, next.
Well, it might
next
just
week.
be Seattle. Just might be handed the trophy and the game gets canceled.
Right.
But
yeah.
The game, I think, is going to happen. I have a feeling it's going to be the most highly rated Super Bowl ever. I think all of the stuff that's happened this week has driven so much more interest into the whole Brady Belichick everything. I can't imagine there being a higher rated Super Bowl.
I look back to the 2008 season. We had that game. It was Arizona against Pittsburgh in Tampa. And remember, the Cardinals had lost 50-0 to New England in December. I kid Chris Collinsworth to this day. He'd gone on a pregame show and said, this is the worst team to ever get to the playoffs. And then they rolled through Atlanta in the wild card, beat Carolina, knocked off Philadelphia, and now here they are. They are in the Super Bowl. And I love, Dick Ebersol was my boss at that time, ran NBC Sports, and Dick was morose. the day after the game. And he calls me up and he said, oh, no, you know. I said, Dick, would you stop it? I said, on Super Bowl Sunday, I said, do you think anybody wakes up and the husband says to the wife, hey, Zelda, the Arizona Cardinals are playing in the Super Bowl today. Let's go to the movies. No, what are you talking about?
Right.
It's an unofficial national holiday.
It is.
People, you know, gather, they have parties, whatever. It's the only thing to really do that day. I guess you could go to the movies if you want to. Meanwhile, the ratings come out. First of all, the Arizona-Pittsburgh Super Bowl may have been the best of the Super Bowl. Sports Illustrated had it the next week as the best of the at that point, 43 Super Bowls. The game was phenomenal. James Harrison's interception run back, Santonio Holmes making that catch, Larry Fitzgerald giving Arizona the lead. You know, it looked like the Cardinals are going to win the Super Bowl. Arizona covering, got the whole thing going on, all this crazy stuff. The game ending, Kurt Warner trying to throw a Hail Mary. And the ratings came out. It was the highest rated show in the history of American television. It was. It was the highest rate. Now that's been superseded.
I would not have guessed that.
That's been exceeded now by like three of the next 5 Super Bowls or whatever. The Super Bowl will always be gigantically rated. Now, will this add some viewership? I don't know. I mean, I think anybody who's going to watch the Super Bowl is going to watch it anyway. Will this?
Well, I would actually. The more I'm thinking about it,
added? I don't know.
19-0 Pats is probably the peak for a Super Bowl storyline, but this one pulls in like people like my mom who wouldn't normally care.
Really?
Are now interested in this whole Brady Belichick did they lie thing is now a thing. That's like a thing that people who don't care about football are talking about.
So would she not have watched it were it not for this?
I think she'd
be in the kitchen,
be
right?
more.
She'd
probably making meatballs,
right?
Making meatballs and. But now she's much more she'd be more invested because it's the Patriots and she wants me to be happy. But
yeah, there you go.
The Patriot fans are pretty traumatized. Now a lot of them are moving into the defiant FU mode with this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then there's people like my dad who are just like I was just so fired up for these 2 weeks and now all we're hearing about is deflated footballs and all I wanted to hear everyone would talk about was how great Tom Brady is and how great Bill Belichick is. And now it's the opposite.
Well, that
Which is a bummer.
That can be deflating.
Yeah.
I think
deflating, no pun intended.
Right, no pun intended. Was it Dan Shaughnessy who wrote a piece? Was it yesterday or today? I thought I saw something about, hey, this is serious. Because no matter what happens, there's a legacy that gets tarnished. No matter what comes out of the investigation, he might be right. Look, he's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on in Boston. You know, look,
I can't let you say that on this podcast.
That what?
Dan Shaughnessy is the finger on the pulse.
Well,
I have to interrupt you.
All right, well, hold on a second.
He's the master of darkness.
Well, but maybe that is having the finger on the pulse.
Maybe.
Because let me tell you something.
Maybe that is the pulse.
Maybe that is the pulse of Boston.
He's the Dark Knight. Then.
Bill, we went in there. Don't forget, week 5. Yeah. So what happens in week 4 this year?
Oh yeah, you went in after the Brady Belichick dynasty was over.
Miami beats New England right in the opener.
Tough second half.
Then they win the second game. They barely
beat Minnesota with no Peterson.
Right, with no Peterson, barely beat Oakland.
That was trouble.
That game went
couldn't really
right
block
down to
Oakland.
The end. I mean, Oakland was a terrible team at that time.
Couldn't block.
Go into Kansas City on a Monday night and get destroyed. Okay, so we have the game the next week, and for years I've been doing stuff in New York, Philadelphia, the towns where people are unbelievably passionate, and the newspapers go crazy. I'm reading this stuff. I'm going, I can't believe I'm reading that. Belichick has lost it. The organization is finished. They don't know how to draft anymore. Free agency is a disaster. And Brady's done. Garoppolo needs to start. These are the stories.
There was some Garoppolo momentum.
Right. There was. So now this is so crazy that when I went on a show with Felger, I guess in Mass.
Felger and Mass.
Right.
Negative show, but I like those guys.
I'm on that show the day before, I think, the Baltimore-New England playoff game. And they're still giving me crap that for Chris and myself giving crap to the newspapers and talk radio because they were going crazy about the Patriots. So I said, guys, hold on a second. Did your team not go from 2-2 and the sky wasn't even falling? The sky had completely collapsed.
Right.
To 9-2. What happened along the way there?
Yeah.
How'd you win 7 games in a row?
That's the Boston DNA.
Of course,
the sky
it is
falling DNA.
Of course,
it's a cold weather city thing. I think combined with a big city thing.
Philly can be that way too.
Philly's like that.
Well, New York
gets
as
like
well.
that.
New York can be that way too.
It's just the way.
I never thought of that. You made an interesting point here.
Well, but the Red Sox DNA plus the cold weather has created the DNA for how.
Well, yeah, but
people always think the worst case scenario that we've won 9 titles or something in the last
but
12 years.
The DNA has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at a certain
hasn't.
point.
I don't even remember
the
how
Red
many
Sox.
titles
I understand the Red Sox DNA, but all of a sudden, the Red Sox, that's a dynasty.
Right. Well, it's just this rug's going to get pulled out of us kind of DNA.
The rug is going to get pulled out of every team. I mean, there are 32 teams that compete for the Lombardi Trophy. At some point, the rug gets pulled out of underneath 31 of them.
Well, that's
There's only one that wins the trophy.
But that's what we should be talking about this week is what Belichick and Brady and company just did for the since 2003 to basically win 10 or more games every single year and win 11 of 12 AFC East titles and make 6 Super Bowls. Yeah. I don't know if we see that again. Not in the salary cap era, not with football, and it's just too easy to get hurt and how up and down everything is. I just think I don't know if we see it again.
I'm not sure you will either. I mean,
the league is constructed for that not to happen.
Right. Well, maybe there'll be an organization that does get everything right with the owner and the coach and the players, and maybe there'll be some good runs.
Well, think about it, though. Top 5 coach ever, arguably top 3. You could even make a case for top 1.
Right.
Top 5 QB ever.
Right.
You can make a case for top 3. You can make a case for top 1. Right. And those guys come in at the exact same time.
Right.
So that's the first thing you would need to happen.
And an owner who facilitates this.
Right.
Who's able to put this all together and
who's been very conspicuous the last few days, or inconspicuous.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. I mean,
I would like to have heard from him.
He can't be very happy about this. No, this is tough. And you're right. I think a lot of this has to do with, hey, this should be a glorious time for the league. In a year that, the league would love to forget, obviously, on a number of levels.
It's really the fitting end for this terrible season, right?
I suppose.
This is the exclamation point.
But the other stuff was so much more serious. Serious off the field. This is something that's, serious on the field.
But it's not. It has the one thing in common is it's not. There's nothing fun about it. I guess other fan bases are probably enjoying seeing the Patriots dynasty get tarnished. That part's fun.
Yeah,
it's negative, and the whole season's been negative, and there's been different versions of the negativity, but it's been one thing after another: concussions, Goodell, the elevator, the Mueller report. It's one thing after another. It's just been one of those years. I'm not convinced football is headed toward. What boxing was in the 1970s. I don't think that's happening. If it happens, it'll be 30 years from now. But
look, to me, what the fans have done this year, I mean, you've got all this stuff going on between Rice and Peterson.
We forgot
the
to mention.
Thing. Yeah. The whole thing.
Alden
no matter
Smith.
what it is. I mean, Aaron Hernandez is sitting there.
Aaron Hernandez at jail.
Well, I mean, we got 18 million things we can say. But what I have found from the fans is that they talk about this, and talk radio obviously talks about it. The newspapers cover it. And that's during the week when games aren't being played. You get to the weekend, you get to Sunday and Monday, and the fans almost say collectively, "You know what? I want my football."
Yeah,
they don't. Whatever's going on over here, put it over there. Put it over there, and maybe during the week I'll think about it, talk about it, care about it. You come to Sunday or Monday, I want my football.
One thing has changed with how you guys announce it now. Like if you go back to some of the stuff's on YouTube, like you watch mid-2000s, some safety just crushes some tight end.
Yeah.
And you can hear like, "Whoa, what a hit!
Yeah,
Whoa!"
Yeah.
And now it's like when that happens, you can feel the announcers go, and that was not. And Collinsworth might do that was quite a hit, but let's hope he get. Like you can feel the concern immediately.
There was a network, and this show gets edited, right? But you won't edit this out. Which network had something about 8 or 9 years ago.
Jacked up.
He got jacked up.
Oh, I remember.
Let's see how hard a guy can get smacked. Whoa!
That was the culture back then, though.
It was only
but think about MMA now, though.
I didn't like.
I never liked jacked up.
When that was happening, I'm going, what is that? That's crazy stuff. People maiming other people.
Wait, did you do the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game? No, that was CBS. The famous one where the McGahee got knocked out and. Three guys got knocked out in that game.
No, I didn't do that one. We've done a number of those.
I'm going to say that's like 4 or 5 years ago. I remember.
Yeah, we didn't do that game. Yeah,
I remember watching that game and just being disturbed after and thinking like these guys might now be too big and too fast for whatever the rules we have in place are. Like I'm now watching car accidents.
Yeah,
and maybe that was the case in 1979, but it just feels like it's too fast and too strong now.
And that's part of the problem with football. I mean, what are you going to do? Most of the new rules are implemented with player safety foremost in mind. But at a certain point, you've got guys 6'3" and 245 running 4.4. I mean, who's going to stop them? Somebody's got to hit them.
And we both love going to hockey games.
Yeah.
They've changed in hockey in a way that it hasn't affected the hockey. They've gotten rid of two things. One is if you're near the boards but not on the boards, you can't hit somebody when they're not looking anymore. Mm-hmm. And that was how a lot of guys got hurt.
Sure.
And the other one was the open ice, middle of the ice. I don't know you're coming, Scott Stevens elbow.
Right.
Or just the in general, any sort of hit where somebody can't see you and you don't have the puck, that's been wiped out. You can't do that, and guys are smart enough to be able to not do it. Yeah. In football, you have these situations where the guy's coming flying in. At the last second, the receiver does this. The guy hits helmet to helmet all of a sudden. I don't know how you fix it.
No,
because these guys are going too fast, and you're just going to have helmet to helmet. It's never going to go away.
Yeah, that's an issue. Pass interference. I mean, again, that's not a safety thing. But what is pass interference?
They don't even know anymore.
I don't know. Everything needs to be parsed and replayed. Danny Amendola scored in that game that we did, and they stopped it to review it. And Collinsworth, and I think we said something on there. What are they looking at?
Right.
He's in bounds by 3 yards. What in the world? It's like the replay official doesn't want to have to say, "Oh my God, how did I miss something?" So you can't even exult in the moment. You have to wait for the official to come back on and go,
And yet
the rating
confirmed. And yet the ratings have never been better. And interest has never been higher. Football is not going away.
I'm in the middle of how football gets televised. I'm amazed at how spectacular it is, how dramatic it looks, and especially with the technology. The technology over the past few years has made this game unbelievably beautiful. HD TV, the spider cam or the flying cam or whatever.
Is that what the camera's called behind the quarterback when they're
on
the wire?
I think ESPN has what they call spider cam, and
that's amazing. I love that camera.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's great.
And you can look into the huddle and you can see angles that you couldn't possibly see before this happened.
Well, if you go on YouTube and you find a game from like 1980 or something.
Think about this.
And it's like it's just blurry, and there's three
crazy.
Cameras. The replays are awful.
I did the World Series in 1972. You know how the graphics would get on the screen? There'd be a black card with white lettering, and a camera would shoot that, and that's how you would see the graphic.
Were you doing the one when Campy threw the bat at Laren LeGros?
No, but I'll tell you, that was in the playoffs before that World Series.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I was with Cincinnati. I was doing the Reds at that time. I was the Reds announcer, and I got to do the World Series on NBC because the Reds had won the pennant. In those years, the number one announcer for the team would join Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubek.
Wait, you get caught up to the big leagues.
It was incredible. If I haven't told you the story, it's in the book anyway.
I've heard all your stories.
I know about it. This is the one you may not have heard. I'm doing the World Series in 72.
Have not heard this one.
Okay. So we win the pennant. We beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs. Laren LeGros, you got the Campaneris bat thing. And Reggie Jackson, in the fifth game, stole home in Detroit and pulled his hamstring and couldn't play in the World Series.
And Oakland won anyway, 72. Right?
Oakland won anyway in 7 games. Joe Rudy had a great series. Yeah. Gene Tennis had 2 home runs in his first 2 at-bats. Raleigh Fingers was great. So game 1, Cincinnati, in October of 1972, day game. Kurt Gowdy comes on. He's going to introduce me. The camera's going to pull back. I am so nervous. I know what I want to say, and I'm going to take the viewers on a tour of the ballpark when Kurt hands it to me. But all I could think about was, oh, God. When I open my mouth, please let air come out. That's how nervous I was. Because I didn't know if I could. It was insane.
When was the last time you've been nervous?
As this podcast started.
Stop.
No. I never know where I love it. This is a lot of fun.
Come on, me and Stern, you love when either one of us. You never know where we're going to go.
I was never that nervous again.
Really?
No.
Because I was surprised that Brady was nervous in his press conference. I was thinking, Brady's done 5 Super Bowls and he's hosted Saturday Night Live and he's Tom Brady. You're nervous?
Yeah, he knew what was coming too.
Yeah.
Well, he knew it was coming. He knew he was going to be the guy in the crosshairs. He knew that no matter how many times the same question was going to get asked. It was going to be asked again. So now you're trying
They
to figure
failed
out a
him,
different
though.
way to say it.
That was a PR disaster. They failed him.
Yeah. Well, he had
Do your statement and then get out of there.
But then you get ripped for
Take 4 questions.
Whatever.
He was just kind of standing there like it was like open mic thing. Can I see the 72 Reds clip? Yeah.
Oh my God! Well, this is in the playoffs.
And a bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. Back goes Clemente. It's a third. He's done.
Whoa.
That tied the game in the 9th inning, and the Reds would go on to win the game on a Bob Moose wild pitch.
Oh, I think we might have that.
Here it is. Watch
The
this.
1-1 pitch to McRae. In the dirt. It's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant. Bob Moose throws a wild pitch, and the Reds have won the National League pennant.
So that was
David.
like your first great game.
Well, end of my second year in Cincinnati, I got to tell you, so at that point we had Stephen, or who my son, who was like 2 years old. So he was with a babysitter at home. Linda and I drove home from that game. We were just giddy. I'm going to do the World Series of 27.
So that's why you were so excited.
You can take me to heaven right now, but just wait until after the World Series. Then they can take me to heaven. Oh my! That was the fifth game of the playoffs, which took us to the Oakland.
It was a 5-game series back then.
It was a 5-game series, and I don't know if you caught it, but when Bench hit the home run to lead off the bottom of the ninth, went Clemente to the fence.
Wasn't Clemente?
No, it was Clemente. That was the last game Clemente ever played. He died in the plane crash.
Another Weird Al Michaels thing.
He died in the plane crash after the 1972
That isn't even one of
season.
your top 70 crazy Al Michaels facts. You did Clemente's last game.
I did Clemente's last game. How crazy is that?
And so you were excited because the Reds won, but also you were going to the World Series.
I'm going. The Reds are going to the World Series, and I'm going with them.
What else do we have? Play another one. This is Al Michaels Roulette. You don't know what's coming next. Yeah! It's the Pro Bowlers Tour from 1979.
Oh, my God. Where'd you get this?
Well, don't worry. You won't be on. Oh, no, you are.
Oh, my God.
It's you and Nelson Burton Jr.
The lanes,
Bo
as you
Burton.
say, have been in excellent condition. This is one of the highest scoring tournaments in PBA history. And when you put the players, the 5
Look
players
how
we have
interested
today
you
on
are
one
in them.
single pair of lanes, I think they can get zeroed in.
You're holding that
Probably
mic
produce the
like this
highest
is like the
scores we've
Super
seen in
Bowl.
the last 5 years
I wanted to know how the lanes were waxed.
Talk about high scores. How about 2 days
Oh,
ago?
good segue.
qualifying
Jeez.
on
You
Thursday,
talk about high scores.
Pro
Look at
Bowl.
John Wilcox. Look at
John
that shirt.
Wilcox, you're looking at his style. All
You know what's
he
funny?
did
This isn't the
was
only
roll
bowling thing you've done on
back to
YouTube.
back
Oh, we wanted to show the
300
graphics, too.
games as you watch the X's
People
come
listening
up.
to this can't see the
12
graphics,
overall
but
in
they
game
pop
number
up
one,
just one at a
12
time.
more in game number
The 70s
two.
were
He had
incredible.
one
I think we
before
kill
the
that.
spring started,
Wow.
2 more in the
Yeah, so you have-
following game. He had 27
So the only times
You're reeling right now. I am
I-
surprised Al Michaels.
I had no idea you had this. This is I have to get this now.
It's on YouTube. Just Google Al Michaels bowling, and you've done. There's 3
Terrific.
things you've done. It's on.
Oh, my God.
Bo Burton.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you.
All right, kill it.
The only times I did Pro Bowlers Tour, it was Chris Schenkel's show. But every once in
I
a while,
researched that he was on assignment.
He was on assignment like twice a season. He would go to like Kitzbühel, Austria, to cover skiing, which of course was a little bit better than going to North Olmsted, Ohio, to cover Pro Bowlers Tour. But it's the only time I actually opened up a show, and just for a second I couldn't remember where I was, and I was in North Olmsted, Ohio. But I had done like 3 in a row. I'd done one in Florissant, Missouri. I'd done one outside of Springfield, Virginia. So I'm welcoming people to, and I'm trying to look around, and I have no clue where I am. If I'm in a baseball or football stadium, I can just, sneak a glance.
Yeah.
I know where I am.
You're at a
but here I am.
bowling
I'm in a
alley.
bowling alley. Oh,
my buddy
God.
my buddy Rob Stone did bowling for ESPN for a couple years, and it's like every small town that is, put it this way, not in the NFL, maybe.
Well,
It's a lot of
or it would be in a town
40
where
minutes
you're,
away from
right.
the
You're
big
outside.
city.
You're outside of the big city. Yeah.
Can we see the Dave Henderson homer? You have that one? The baseball one?
Baseball,
Show one of the
1986.
baseball ones.
I feel like you should be Ralph Edwards, and this is my life here, right? You become these.
Well,
these
you wrote
clips are
this whole
rolling.
book. What better way to promote the book with clips?
Right.
Oh, I don't know what this one is.
Baseball is about homecoming.
Oh, this I think is.
Oh, this is the earthquake.
The earthquake.
Can you fast forward this one?
Yeah, right. That's.
Way
to
Right.
their first world title
Right,
in
that's part, yeah.
1974.
Yeah,
The Giants, of course, are faced
here we
with a
go.
formidable task.
Right.
having
So
to
this
win
is you,
4 or 5
Game
races to
2
win
of the
World
World
title.
Series?
Game 3.
It
Game
has
3 of the
become
World
less
Series.
uncommon, though, in
Right.
recent years for
Game
teams
3
to
of Candlestick.
overcome
First two were in
a 2-0
Oakland.
deficit.
Oakland won
Most
both.
recently, it was done by
Monday
the New
was a
York
day
Mets
off.
in 1986 against the Boston Red Sox, and it was done the year before as well in 1985 by Kansas
You're just
City
doing your intro?
against St. Louis. So the Giants tonight.
As
will
you
be
can tell,
sending
I've had a
Don
bad hair of
Robinson to the
life.
mound, and for
Oh, my
Oakland,
God.
it
I
will
thought-
be
that
Bob
didn't look too
Wells.
bad.
You look
No
very
designated
Italian
hitter
in this one.
in effect
It's
in the
funny.
National
Look at this. You
League
look like one of my
Park.
uncles.
It's the lighting.
Carver, and
It's one of your uncles. So now I bring my Carver in. Here comes Tim. And then we're going to start narrating some tape here.
And then it starts getting wonky, right? Right here?
Well, Tim's going to lead into a tape
Well, you
of a play that took place
plays in a 5-1 ball game.
on
Let's
Sunday
go back
night.
to the top of the
Here you
third
go.
inning.
Right.
Will Clark
It happens in the middle of this
Giants
tape
have not
here.
had the lead in these 2 games. A 3-2
And could you
down,
feel the
a
stadium
split
starting to
finger
shake, like,
fastball
right
by
around
Mike
here?
Moore.
You'll see it in a
Pounced
second.
on by Terry
Not here
Steinbach,
yet.
The Oakland catcher, but look at the tough throw that he had to complete the play with Brett
Tim
Butler
hesitates,
running
and that's
between
when
him and Clark.
all hell began to
But
break loose.
flash forward to the bottom of the 4th inning. Dave Parker
Coming
barely
very
by
shortly.
inches, just misses a home run. Candy Maldonado
5,
with
4,
the
3,
hesitation,
2,
allowing Jose Canseco to score,
right
and
ab-
he fails to get Dave
right about
Parker
here.
at second
Right-
base.
right there.
So the Oakland A's
There you go.
take.
I'll tell you what, we're having an early.
Fade to black.
Amazing.
Of all things.
What'd you think of our documentary about it?
This is you're Ralph Edwards. This is my life. I want to be here for overnight now. I mean, these clips are incredible.
How does the earthquake come in as you're about to throw it to the game?
I have no
Like,
idea.
What are the odds of that?
18 trillion.
It's got to be like
400
I
million
still
to
think
one.
that's the craziest thing.
It is.
That's ever happened in sports. That's my number one
Well,
pick for
I mean, I
the
keep-
all-time craziest.
It's part of the reason I wrote the book. I keep winding up in these places. I mean, how in the hell did I wind up in Lake Placid
Right.
doing hockey? I do hockey because I'm the only guy on the staff who's ever done a hockey game. I had
Nobody
done
expects
one.
anything from the team.
Nobody expects anything from the team. You wind up here. I wound up narrating a Bronco chase on the freeway for ABC in 1994 with O.J. Simpson.
Right.
Some of these games, Hagler Hearns, which may have
Play
been
the next one.
may have been the greatest round in boxing history.
Oh, here's Hendu.
This is the 1986 playoffs.
This
American
is
League.
the Red Sox were down to their last out.
The Red Sox.
Game 5.
Long way from Seattle.
Who's your partner?
Jim Palmer in this game. Remember, they had a 3-run lead going into the bottom or the top of the ninth inning. Baylor hit a 2-run homer.
Yep.
Now Donnie Moore is on the mound.
You got all the
Henderson's
ushers
at
are on the field already.
They're on the field. The cops on horseback are out in the bullpen, ready to come out onto the field.
I never gave up in this game, by the way.
Really?
I never did. I really thought we could get him. Uh-oh.
To left field and deep and down he goes back and it's gone. Unbelievable.
That's a great call. I think that's your best call.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you're a Red Sox fan.
Well, that's why I thought it was your best call.
But it was unbelievable. I mean, this was like, what? How did this happen?
But you narrated it perfectly. Down he goes back, and it's gone. That's a tough one to pull off. And Hendu strained his knee, jumping up and down.
Yep.
So, is that the fastest you've seen an arena go from super loud to funereal?
No. I'll tell you what the loudest was, and it's so funny you mention this. The loudest to the quietest.
It's like the two extremes.
The other night, I happened to be at a dinner where Goose Gossage was at the dinner. And I was sitting next to Goose. There were a bunch of baseball Hall of Famers there. And I did the 1980 American League Championship Series, which was the Yankees against Kansas City. Mm-hmm. I did it with Jim Palmer and Billy Martin, who was the A's manager at the time. We hired Martin to come in and do it. So Kansas City.
You put Billy Martin on live TV?
We put Billy Martin on live TV. He was pretty good. So that was best 3 of 5.
He didn't swear?
He didn't. Plenty. Well, look, I worked with Earl Weaver too. So
Would
that
you
was
say Billy Martin was sober during these games?
He was.
Okay, good.
He did a pretty good job. So we're in Yankee Stadium now. It's Game 3. Kansas City leads 2-0. First team to win 3 goes to the World Series. The game, as I recall, was tied in the maybe 7th inning. Gossage comes out of the bullpen to face George Brett. Kansas City's rallying. Yankee Stadium is going crazy. Gossage gets 2 strikes on Brett and throws a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Brett turns on it. It's the loudest sound I may have ever heard in a stadium. The crack of the bat, certainly the loudest crack of the bat. He turned on it and hit a shot into about the 5th row of the upper deck at Yankee Stadium, where I swear to you, that ball would have wound up in Suffolk County had it not been stopped by the stands. Right. I'd never seen a home run like that, hit that hard. I'd never seen a fastball turned around like that. So I remember hearing, the crowd's going crazy, crack, and then dead silence. I mean, everybody in Yankee Stadium couldn't believe the sound. So I'm sitting next to Gossage the other night. I've known Goose through the years, so the other night we're having some fun. I say, I got to bring something up to you. I said, the loudest sound I ever heard was when Brett turned that 100-mile-an-hour fastball around on you. And Goose says to me, it's the loudest sound I ever heard. He said, I threw that pitch and then he got off. He shivered. He said, yeah. He said, like what? He said, I couldn't believe what had happened. It was amazing. So we got a laugh about it at the time. But that's
what year was that? 1980.
That's the fastest I ever heard a stadium go from complete raucousness to dead silence.
It's like the mute button sports moment.
Unbelievable.
Mute.
Yep. What happened? Yeah.
What else do we have?
Power play so far. Their
this is
really all over the
see, everyone always goes with do you believe in miracles for you? But
you're earlier on here.
Remaining in the penalty to
the 3rd and 4th goals get a little undersold. Look how slow everybody is, by the way. This team wouldn't be doing well. And this is your typical cheap hockey goal.
They're down 3-2, yeah.
Herb Brooks with a little emotion.
Yeah, there's 11 and a half minutes to go in the game. It tied the game. So all of a sudden it's 3-3. Like, what? And by the way, that's the 3rd deficit that the U.S. had overcome. Yeah. They were down 1-0, 2-1, and 3-2.
But the crowd drowned you out for a second. Can we go to the next
fine.
one?
That's you got probably a Ruzione's goal, right?
Yeah.
Right
probably.
Balderas back of the net.
Jim Craig stopped like 78 shots in this 3rd period.
Oh, he was insane.
While never going to the ground somehow.
They clear it away. Schneider, Buzz, long slap shot.
90-foot slap shot by Schneider.
The U.S. team is depending a little bit too much now on Jim Craig. He's making too many good saves. Eruzione! Mike Eruzione!
So I would argue that was a more exciting moment than when they actually won. Because by the time they won, it was like a heart attack. It was 10 minutes of of a root canal.
Exactly.
That was like just happy.
Happy, but the game is not over.
Right. But it was like, oh my God, we took the lead.
Yeah, took the lead. Exactly.
It was one of those.
And the last 10 minutes were crazy.
The root canal.
Right. And the Soviets, all of a sudden, this disciplined, phenomenal hockey team, everything was so orderly. All of a sudden, they're skating these insanely short shifts. Guys are on the ice for 15 seconds.
They choked in that game.
Well,
they took Tretiak out.
Well, that was a bad move. Obviously, the coach took
best
Tretiak
goalie of all time
at the end of the first period, took him out of the game, put this guy Michigan in the game.
Thank you.
And and
don't think we don't have a 30 for 30 about the 1980 Russian team.
I know you do.
Coming out.
I know
very soon.
I know. I heard
we're
about it.
We're all very proud of.
It's supposed to be great.
Yeah. What's next? Another one you don't get enough credit for. One of the all-time great moments.
Jerry Maguire.
Rod Tidwell.
You
thought he was out.
Of course.
He probably did have a grade 2 concussion, but we didn't know about concussions in 96. And there's Al Michaels.
with Gifford and Deardorff.
This is probably the craziest sports moment you've done.
Yeah.
First of all, this is a penalty.
Wait a How about basketball? That's the craziest.
Oh, yeah.
You get Barry Switzer. Look at that.
It's still probably a penalty. This is now a 30-yard penalty. Rod Tidwell's dance.
Right.
All right, we can kill this. But that was a great one. And until the Cardinals made the Super Bowl, that was the single greatest Arizona Cardinals moment.
That was, exactly.
It was number one.
And they filmed it. Most of the filming was done, was it the Christmas night game, I think, in 95? We had a Christmas night game, Dallas and Arizona.
Yeah.
So they had, Tidwell was, not that we did that in the middle of the game, but those guys were, getting some ambiance shots and all that.
What'd you get paid for that one? You remember everything you've been paid for anything?
That was about $5,000.
Much less than basketball.
Well, basketball, that's a whole other story.
Well,
But-
you did the media tour for your book, and that was a whole thing. How you heard about Costas, and then you
they
demanded more
lied
money.
to me.
Yeah.
And people say to me, "Oh, how can you be bitching about that kind of money?" I'm going, "Excuse me,
Why not?
No, I say it wasn't that. The whole thing was, it's Hollywood, and I say in the book, I said. There's maybe there's no business like show business, but there's no bullshit like the bullshit in show business, right? Can I say that on the podcast?
Yes.
You can get away
You
with
can.
it.
We're not going to bleep that.
That's right.
Is Costas your frenemy?
Is he my frenemy?
Is
No,
he
he's my
is your
friend.
friend?
No. He's my
Friend/rival?
No.
Is he your frival?
No, he's not my rival. No,
He's just
no.
your friend?
We're not.
Not at all.
anymore.
No sort of competition with you
Zero.
and Costas.
Bob and I, we've known each other for a long, long time. Bob and I knew each other for almost 25 years before we worked at the same network together.
Never been a night you guys had
Zero.
like 2 bottles of wine and started
Zero.
getting a little
We have a lot.
aggro
we
about
have-
who had a better career.
No,
Nothing.
we have a lot of laughs.
Okay.
We have a lot of laughs.
All right.
He's a good guy. We have a lot of fun. And we've had, now we've shared some great stories together. I mean, that basketball thing is perfect. We've
do
got
we
a lot
have
of
next?
mileage out of that.
That's great. It was great for your brand.
The Cardinals 3 outs away.
You also announced the worst call in baseball history.
85 World Series.
Little squibber to the right side. Worrell races over to cover. The throw doesn't get him.
Oh no, but it did get him.
Right.
It did. Here comes Herzog amongst the other quartet.
Now, underrated here was the actual game winner.
The looper hitting the right field for a base hit. Here comes Sundberg. Here's the throw. He scores. We go to a 7.
Which
I
they
would
won.
say, as an announcer, one of the best things you could call is the guy at home, tie game, rounding third, might score, might not, get thrown out at home play.
Right, perfect.
That's got to be up there.
It's great. It's great. It's wonderful.
That wasn't the best one ever, though. McDonough had the best one. The actual, just the play, the Sid Bream.
Right.
Just 'cause Sid Bream, a freaking
Right.
tortoise,
Right.
waddling around third base trying to get there. It took 5 minutes. Like,
Sure.
That was probably the second best, because it wasn't that close. You knew he was going to score.
Yeah, but considering what had happened
Right.
in the Denkinger
Sid
call,
Bream, it's like he's not going to score.
Yeah.
He's Sid Bream.
He's Sid Bream.
Then-
And this sent it to a 7th game,
Yeah.
which Kansas City won 11-0 the next night.
Baseball has better 6th games than 7th games. I don't know why that is.
Carlton Fisk, of course, is number 1.
86. I mean, the worst moment of my sports life.
Correct. Yeah.
Kirby Puckett.
That was a 6th game, too.
Yeah,
Right.
there's been a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Show the next one. We got 2 more, I think. The most underrated moment of Hagler Hearns. Round 3. Marvin's bleeding.
Again, Hagler is all bloodied. Time is called by Richard Steele to send Hagler over to the ring doctor. He's calling the ring doctor in.
I should mention to the kids out there, this is the greatest fight of all time. And if you haven't watched it on YouTube yet, I don't know what to tell you.
Back comes Hagler with a wild left hand.
And Hearns was kind of punch drunk at this point. 'Cause he'd been nailed.
He was wobbly, and Hagler's bleeding to death.
Here's rubbery.
This was not going to a 4th round.
No, definitely not.
Breaking these fighters very quickly. That's uncharacteristic.
This was the rarely seen clutch boxing performance.
Well, Hagler had to knock him out, otherwise it could have been a technical draw.
Yeah.
He was bleeding so badly. There you go, right here.
Yep.
Hearns is back. Takes another right. Hearns in deep trouble again.
He's out.
Hearns is down in the 3rd round and on his back. And he's not going to beat the count. I don't believe.
He's sort of confused.
Tommy Hearns
He's trying to.
They've got to stop this fight. Does
Yeah.
he get up? He just doesn't know. He can't continue.
Look at Hagler walks right by him. That's my favorite part. It was so Massachusetts. Just walks right by him for the final FU.
On a first-round knockout. It didn't go very far.
I don't know. If I had to rank your greatest sporting events that you've called, it's really hard for me not to put Hagler Hearns first.
No, Lake Placid's first.
No, I know. I know Lake Placid's first, but it's hard to think that's
Well,
not first.
8 minutes. Well, think of it this way. Lake Placid's a 2-week deal, even though we all think about one game. So that's a fortnight.
I would say that's the most iconic, but
Yeah.
you can't have a better sporting event start to finish than that.
Remember, Sports Illustrated's cover summed it up perfectly that week. 8 minutes of fury.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, we know that most fights start out, it's a feeling out process.
Yeah,
the guys
couple
come,
jabs.
little parry, and where's this guy going? Whatever. It's a warm-up. It's an appetizer. These guys just came to the middle of the ring and started to kill each other.
It was a bar fight.
It took me a few seconds at the beginning just to get my brain around it. What are they doing? Fights don't start this way. You don't throw haymakers in the first 10 seconds, but that's what they were doing. And I talk about it in the book that at one point they're right above me, and I swear to you, Bill, Hearns hits Hagler so hard, and I can see it, it's right above me. And he hits him, and the Hagler's cheek just compresses and just goes totally convex. And I thought, just for a split second in my brain, he's killed him. He's killed him. Meanwhile, like as in a cartoon, the cheek pops out.
Yeah.
Back to normal size, and now Hagler is jumping on top of Hearns. I thought Hagler was dead. Now the next thing you know, he's on the offense.
Who'd you do that one with?
Al Bernstein. It's the only time Al and I have ever been together. And Bob Arum had
cheated
the rights
on
to
Alex.
Alex produced it.
Yeah, it still feels.
No, I didn't cheat on Alex. He produced it. If Alex wasn't an announcer,
cheated on
he
Alex.
wasn't an announcer in those years.
Did you do Hagler Leonard or no?
No. That's the only Hagler fight I ever did. No, I shouldn't say that. I did Hagler against Tony Simpson in Worcester, Massachusetts in 1983 at the Spectrum.
I don't know if that's on YouTube.
On a Friday night.
You mean the Centrum?
At the Centrum, not the Spectrum. The Centrum. The Centrum, yep.
Let's show your greatest video performance. 1970 Hawaii 5-0.
Right. Yep.
This guy needs a lawyer.
Right. Here I am.
Oh, it's Al Michaels.
I'm the public defender. Here I am. Dave Bronstein.
Dave Bronstein. He'd be your lawyer. It's okay with you. I think I'll leave you two alone. Could you stay? You sure you want me to?
I think you're a hell of an actor. This easily could have been Mark Ruffalo.
Just a couple of quick questions for now. They'll probably ask for murder one.
Jack Lord. Where'd this guy come
I should have
from?
never turned myself in. Right now, that's irrelevant, John. Just tell
They
me
won't even
what
give you a
happened.
front camera shot.
Nah, at that point, yeah.
Al, we need your back for a Hawaii 5-0 episode.
I ran.
You ran?
This one SP caught me. Not really.
It's just Jack Lord. Jack Lord's like, don't show that guy.
No.
I don't want him to upstage me.
Believe me, that was Jack Lord.
Yeah, they're just still not showing. Great sideburns.
I jumped him. We wrestled. I tried to get the gun, and then I heard this.
More, it's just they're looping
amazing,
the
isn't it?
Jack Lord shot.
Yep.
Whistle past my ear. That's all I know.
Wow,
You know more
what
than
an
that.
actor.
You know
Oh,
the
there you
SPG
are.
shot during the scuffle. You know you shot him.
I don't know.
Wow, you really went to a place there.
Like I said, I
got him off, by the way.
You rattled him.
I never meant to shoot that guy.
You never meant to shoot him? Is that what you're saying? It was an accident?
No.
He's a lawyer, John, the best there is.
You're the best there is.
Right. I'm 23 years old. I'm the best there is.
You understand?
It's the best there is. He's going to go on and call a lot of amazing games and write a book.
I was just... And then the gun went off.
He's folding now. You did it. You
I
flipped
heard
him.
this noise, like...
You stared him down.
I'm the best there is, right?
All right, we can cut this.
23, a public defender.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
What a career. So
Well,
your book is You Can't Make This Up, and you can't make that up.
No. And, you know, the Jack Lord story, and stop me if I've told you this one before.
I haven't heard this one.
So I'm working in Hawaii doing baseball, and I'm on television. And so to save money, the production, the Hawaii 5-0 production, they would use a lot of local sportscasters, newscasters, entertainers to come in and do this small roles like that.
So they would do that to save money,
Well, they didn't want to fly all the actors in from the mainland. Otherwise, they would have had to fly. So they see me on television. Somebody calls up, you want to come down, and a lot of my colleagues have done it. We had a lot of fun. So I get the script, and I'm really excited about this. And being the perfectionist that I am, I go through it 18,000 times. I'm rehearsing in front of Linda. Like 10 nights in a row. Now the day comes, so I show up at the Diamond Head Studios, and when I get there, they take me into makeup, and then I come out onto the set, and Jack Lord comes out onto the set, doesn't say hello, doesn't say how are you, doesn't say welcome, doesn't say hello.
He stones you.
Nothing. Totally stoned. Nothing. Zero. So I'm on the set, and they're getting us in a position for, here we go, take one. And I have the first couple of lines, and I start to speak, and all of a sudden, Lord looks at the camera operator and the assistant and goes, "Cut!" like that. I go, "Oh my God!" I said, "I'm going to get fired. I don't know what happened." And he has his hand up in front of his face, and he says, "I need more hand makeup." I thought to myself, what? First of all, how the hell would you know you need more hand makeup with the back of your hand toward the camera? Anyway, here comes the makeup lady, and that's why he, cut. So he got his hand makeup. We probably took about maybe 4 or 5 takes. We got that, and that was that. No goodbye, no mahalo, no nothing. I think I got like $85 for it. And that was my Hawaii Five-0 adventure. And Christopher Walken was also in that show. Think about that.
You and Chris Walken, same show.
Same show.
And you remembered how much you made for it, which I loved.
It was about 85. Whatever scale was it. And to this day, maybe every 3 years, here comes a residual in the mail for like
a penny,
28 cents. The postage is more than the residual.
So what was the character you played?
Dave Bronstein, public defender.
So here's why, one of the reasons I want to play this, other than I enjoyed it. The show's back on CBS.
Sure.
How has Dave Bronstein not come back?
Well, Dave needs.
Doesn't Dave Bronstein need to come back on the new Hawaii Five-0? How have they not asked you?
If Dave Bronstein at 23 was the best there is.
He's still the best. Now he's semi-retired, but he still owns the law firm in Hawaii, and he comes in.
They should bring me back as that guy. What's the guy's name? Jerry Spence with the cowboy hat, who's always on all those shows.
Yeah.
From Wyoming or wherever he is.
Maybe Dave Bronstein's like a talking head.
How do we get this done?
That's why I'm doing it. Somebody at CBS will hear this.
I'm going to call Les Moonves.
It should happen. Call Les
Moonves. As a friend.
Send him
You're
the
right.
clip.
Dave Bronstein needs to be brought back.
One more
Hawaii
Dave
Five-0.
Bronstein.
Yeah.
This would be great.
Yeah.
All right. Your book you can buy on Amazon, bookstores,
I think
everywhere.
you can.
It's called You Can't Make This Up.
Right.
You wrote it with John Wertheim.
I did. Sports Illustrated.
Very good guy.
Absolutely.
Always one of my favorite. Great tennis writer.
Oh, yeah. No question.
Super nice guy.
Right.
One of the few SI
Who'd you
people
write
I'll
your book
defend.
with, by the way?
I wrote it with Bill Simmons.
Yeah, just you, huh?
Yeah.
You sat there and
Well,
you
I'm a
wrote...
writer. I felt like I had to write
I
it by
understand.
myself.
Look, I write pretty well, but the problem is
Hey, you need somebody.
I needed somebody.
Organizer.
Otherwise, I was going to go back and I'd write like 3 sentences and I'd go back, I got to change this around. But the key for me was at the end of the day, after John had done the draft, I had to change some of the wording so that it sounded like it came out of my mouth.
Right.
Because people know what I sound like.
Yep.
And so that was the tricky part. But
Jalen's writing a book right now. It's the same thing.
He's writing it with Aaron Cohen, who was also very instrumental in helping me get from
fantastic.
the written word to the spoken word.
He's very good at it, and the Jalen book's going to be really good.
Yeah.
And it sounds like him, but it sounds like a book version of him.
Which is good. And again, Aaron can take it from the guy's mouth and put it into a form where people go, "Hey, that's what he sounds like."
Is there ESPN stuff in the book?
In my book,
yeah,
there is.
You talk about getting traded for a rabbit?
I talked about that, but I also said, you'll read it eventually. I thought, I sent you the book last.
You never mailed it to me.
I didn't.
You mailed it like this week.
I was going to send it to you last night and bring Evelyn Wood in to help you get through it. The speed read.
I could have speed read it actually.
No. The rabbit thing, real quickly. People make you laugh about the fact they got traded for Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. That deal was totally done. The deal was done, and then at the end of the day, you'll read it in the book. The condensed version is we threw the rabbit in because the press was beginning to sense that there was something nefarious and insidious going on. There wasn't.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get out of the ESPN deal. It wasn't going to work for me. John Madden was going over to NBC.
Your whole crew.
My whole crew was going over, and they should have stayed at ESPN, frankly. But Mark Shapiro was there, and George Bodenheimer gave him the keys to the car.
Briefly,
but enough that, Madden was gone, Godelli was gone, Esikoff was gone. He was told, I stay. Now I'm going to stay, but it's like, holy mackerel.
New crew, new partner.
The whole thing. I didn't like where I sensed it was going. It was just not my philosophy. It's
not how Dave Bronstein rolls. Dave Bronstein wants to be the best.
So I retained Dave Bronstein as my lawyer to get me out of the look, I asked to get out of the deal. I said, this is not good for either of us.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, here comes this cockamamie rabbit into this thing. And we said, you know what? If you put the rabbit in there.
Yeah, there you go.
The press will lock on the rabbit. So as I said, to this day, people have to understand, if you read something that says I was traded for a rabbit, it was normally written by Dopey or Goofy. Because that's not
true.
quite what happened. I mean, the rabbit was thrown in there. It makes for a funny story.
Well, I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't enjoy this book. So go buy it,
You're
America.
darn right.
Yeah, I'm going to read it. I read books. I fly through books. My wife's always amazed. But yeah.
I want you to absorb this.
I'm
stuff.
taking this one when we finish the podcast. Dave Bronstein, thank you very much.
Hey,
Good luck in the Super Bowl with Chris
Are you coming,
Collinsworth
by
and
the
Jack
way? Are you coming to the Super Bowl? I heard you weren't. You can't do that. Just because Tyree made the catch in that stadium to cost you the perfect season. Come on, Bill.
I have a lot of bad skeletons in that.
What other bad skeletons you have there? Maybe you'll get a good skeleton this time.
I'm probably going.
What does that mean?
My daughter's in the soccer tournament, and if they advance to the next weekend, I'm risking Dad skipping the tournament.
Wait a minute, they're going to play a tournament the same day as the Super Bowl?
It's a state cup, and then if they advance to the next week.
And then they're going to play on Super Bowl Sunday?
Yeah, it could be the whole weekend, and I can't miss that. You know what it's like when
they're going to play a
kids.
soccer game on Super Bowl Sunday?
Yeah, but I can't be in California and Arizona, and
Take you an hour to get there.
I have to. That's why I didn't say I wasn't or I was.
All right. No.
And they'll probably lose
And if you
this
go,
weekend.
you'll watch the game from where? Where would you watch the game from? Press row?
Oh, stands.
Yeah, it has to be.
Has to be the stands.
That's like you and me with hockey. I can't watch it from a press box. I got to be in the stands. Enjoy it, right?
My daughter brought the Kings 2 Stanley Cups in 3 years, so
I
got to stay loyal to her.
my grandson. Yeah.
Now my son's in. He's going to be playing. He's playing hockey this year.
You
It's
need
like
extra
a whole
tickets.
thing.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. It's the thing is though with hockey, and this is we saved this for the very end. The Kings. I don't think they're going to be. If they make the playoffs, they're going to sneak in. I just think too much has happened with that team. I think they're too banged up, and it's a bummer because you have the regular season tickets because you want the playoffs.
Right.
It's really like nobody really wants to go see the Columbus Blue Jackets in December.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun when the Blackhawks are coming in next week. That's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, we're spoiled now too.
There's 10 good games, and
We're
there's
spoiled.
31 that you go to because you got regular season
Right.
tickets.
It's a fun night, but I mean, we're spoiled now because we know what it's like to
My friend
skate
Lewis
that cup.
sits right behind you and has been afraid to talk to you for like 10 years. It's
Why?
the weirdest thing. And he's a PR guy. He's Kimmel's PR guy.
He's Kimmel's PR guy?
Yeah, he does PR for me and Grantland, like diehard
Kidding.
Kings fan, and just doesn't want to bother you.
Why?
Because he knows the whole talk to a celebrity rules. He knows he doesn't want to engage.
Does he talk to Jimmy?
Well, yeah, because he represents it. And he represents Dave Bronstein.
Dave Bronstein, he's the best ever.
The best ever.
He's the best.
23, but he's already the best ever.
What you don't know, Dave Bronstein turned down a chance to be Attorney General about 10 years ago.
He's at the Supreme Court now.
That's right. He's John Roberts in disguise.
How can he be the best ever at 23? He should still be in law school.
No kidding.
He skipped law school. He's
That'd
so
be
good he
great.
didn't need law school. Al Michaels, good luck with your book.
Bill,
Thank
great,
you. Good
man.
luck at the Super Bowl, too.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll
Always
see
a
you
pleasure.
Okay.
Target the set off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNRadio.com.
Peace out.
Gotta say, Golick, great call on grabbing Subway for lunch and getting guacamole on our subs.
Told you this new guac really amps up the flavor.
Yep, something adding up things can be great. Guacamole on your sub, a new co-host to replace you.
What was that?
Oh, no, nothing.
Subway now has deliciously rich new guacamole made from ripe Hass avocados with just a hint of garlic, onion, and jalapeno. Discover how new guacamole turns up the flavor on any of your freshly made favorites. Subway, eat fresh.